You have two Anayas? Or Janaya and Anaya. Okay. Nice to meet you, ladies. As MJ said, my name is Taina. Most of you guys are around 11, 12 years old. How old are you guys? 15. 14. Okay. Well, I was a little bit younger. I want to say I was around 10 years old when I started to get into my sound. When I started to get into my confidence. I remember being at church one day, and I was running around. I think it was with my sister and a friend, and a lady from my church actually stopped me. And she said that she noticed that, I used to walk with my back slunched. I didn't walk like I was confident. I wasn't, I wasn't savvy. I didn't realize how savvy I was in my body. I was taller than everybody else in my class, and I thought this was something that I would be made fun of. I didn't see that what I brought to the table was uniquely me, and that it was beautiful, and that I should be proud of it. But she took the time to pull me aside and, tell me that she acknowledged me for the beautiful woman that I was. And I said, and I realized, I was like, what have I been doing this whole time? Why have I been afraid to be me? So I'm going to start being me. And I would say that, like as MJ said, like right now at this point in my life, I am, a social media influencer. I also work in like my full-time, my 9 to 5, I build people's brands. Like I'm a social media manager, and I've modeled, and I've gone to places and done things that I couldn't even imagine doing, and it's all because I had to tell myself, you are uniquely you, be that, do that, and the world would receive it. There are, how many, does anyone know how many people there are in the world? Anyone knows? Take a guess. More, higher.
Is it only like over 7 million?
Perfect. 7 billion. 7 billion people in the world. 3 billion of them are on social media. And so when I started mine, it was first to make connections with my family and friends, to stay connected to them. And a few years ago, it became marketable. You were able to brand yourself, on social media. Does anybody know anything about branding, like what branding means? Anyone? So to be a brand, or to brand yourself, is to package whatever it is that you bring to the table, whether it be if you're an artist, if you're a singer, if you're a dancer, and find a way to present it to the world. That's your brand. If I was an artist and I always showed my pieces on social media, my brand would be art. But yeah, so a few years ago we were able to do that, and I just started sharing. I shared, things I would do with my hair. I shared my fashion, my style, which, I learned over time that it was unique. A lot of people said that I had like vintage flair, and so I thought, why not share that on a platform? So I started a blog with my little sister, and we would write both about, and we were fine with doing things our way. Like usually around that time, all the bloggers would just show like, here's my outfit, here's where to buy it. But both my sister and I were very much into like mental health and psychology and experiences, and so we would share our outfits, but also write about things that we were going through and things that we were thinking about. And we were just fine with being uniquely us, showing it our way. And over time, I was able to build connections with brands, and something I never expected would have started to happen, but I was able to build connections with brands and speak places like this with you guys, and do all these amazing things that I never even expected, just because I was comfortable with sharing myself. So I really love this message that you guys are doing about I am savvy, I am unique, I am me, because this is, that's everything that I believe in. I believe that everything that I am at this point was because I was willing to say, forget about who everyone else is. Let me be uniquely me. Let me be myself. And it has helped me in tremendous ways. And so, yeah, I just wanted to come here and share that with you guys. Like, I hope that, you know, you find in your spirit that whatever it is that you love, whatever that you're passionate about, like, share that with the world. The world will love to receive it and needs you to be uniquely you. Out of the 7 billion people in the world, there's only one you. Any questions? No? Yeah? Okay.
How long have you been modeling for?
Since 2010.
So can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
So.
And as well, because right now, something that's really in, I would say, with certain people in high profile positions, there are certain bodies that are considered more popular. So, you know, a lot of people are getting work done.
Mhm.
Did you always feel comfortable in your skin, or was that a journey to self-acceptance?
Absolutely not. Like right now, everyone's into the Kim Kardashians of the world. If you don't have a big booty, you're not cute enough, right? That's never been me. That will never be me. I will always be slim. I eat like a pig, but I am slim, you know. And so I had to just realize that, you know, this is me, and you know, like I can be the best version of myself. I can work out, I can eat healthy and be the best version of myself, and it really doesn't matter what everybody else is into, because that stuff fades. You know, sometimes, you know, right now Kim Kardashians are in, but 2 years from now, the skinny chick will be in, you know, like this trendy, like we're not trends, we're human beings, so all we have to offer is ourselves. So, yeah, I think, but when I was in the industry though, I had the opposite problem. Like now I look at the Kim Kardashians of the world, and that's what I'm like, okay, Tiny Nick, you can't be that, you know, like, because that's what everybody else likes. But in the industry, everybody wanted you to be stick thing, which is like half my size. And I love food, so I was not gonna starve myself or, you know, deprive myself in any way for the industry. So there were some times where I struggled a little bit, because people told me, like, I would go for castings and they would tell me I was not the right size, or that I was too old, because I think I started modeling around like 23, 24, and everyone else was in their teens, you know, and so even though I didn't look young, you know, when I put my age on paper, they were like, okay, she's too old, you know, and so I had to realize that if someone says no to me, if someone says that they don't like me, then they're not for me. And that doesn't mean that I'm not great. It doesn't mean that I'm not beautiful. It doesn't mean that I'm not enough. I'm just not the right person for what they're doing. Yeah.
What is, say, your formula, or if I wanted to brand myself, what are some steps I should be taking to set a powerful brand?
I would say, first, write down the things that you're interested in. Like I have realized very quickly that my thing is fashion, family, food. So my social media pretty much surrounds itself around that. Like if I'm not sharing about clothes, I'm sharing about family or something that I'm eating, you know, things like that. So start with 3 things that you love, you know, that you feel is easier to share with yourself, and then, you know, find an aesthetic. Do you guys know what an aesthetic is? No? So the way, aesthetic just means the way something looks. So like I could be very much into like black and white photos, then I would share everything that's like black and white photos. Or if I was into a vintage type of feel, I could do that. Or, you know, I could share 3 meals, and then three photos of my family, then 3 photos of fashion, you know, and all of that would curate, which is like design, you know, what my feed would look like. So, yeah. Anything else?
You mentioned something about your sister and yourself creating a blog.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us a guide? Because I kind of already asked my branding of how do I set up a platform to get a message out. So if I want to be a writer or an artist or a model,
Yeah.
how can I create an image that is me, myself, and unique, but, you know, build up enough traction to get followers or people interested in what I'm doing.
Okay. So, hashtags are everything.
Hashtags are everything.
So, you know, and that's kind of how I found my way. Personally, when I had gotten traction, when people started seeing my stuff, like at first I was blogging basically for me and my sister. No one was looking.
Okay.
But then when we started posting on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, my friends would actually start leaving hashtags under my photos. And I would click on it like, what's that? You know, like, and it would lead me to like a place where all other curated photos would go. And I realized that I started getting followers that way. So I kind of got introduced to the world like through my friends. Like I didn't fully understand it when I started. I just knew that I wanted to write, and my husband builds websites. And so we started a blog, and then I knew I wanted to write and I wanted to share images of, you know, my fashion and my food and my family. And so we just started there, and kind of like my friends kind of helped me build myself on social media and get me introduced to other people. So as soon as I realized hashtags would, you know, help me like get myself out there, I started using them. You know, but yeah.
Is there any sort of like research that you did, or was it just like a friend saying, hey, use this hashtag, it's popular?
I would go through them and
Okay.
see like what kind of images would populate on them, and yeah, at that time, like it was a lot of hair sites. Like I don't know if you guys know, like Curlbox, Natural Hair Does Care. Have you guys heard about those? No. Okay, well, things like that. And back then I had beautiful, big natural hair, so I was hashtagging a lot of those, you know, and it would help me, you know, gain followers and the eyes that mattered, like people that really identified and resonated with the stuff that I was producing. Yeah.
So has anyone reached out to you that does follow you for questions, or is it kind of a conversation that you have? Is there someone that says, hey, I'm working on my hair journey or my modeling journey?
Oh yeah.
Photos?
Yeah, I think it's very important for you to be open with, you know, I'm the type of person where, you know, like I'm not gonna answer questions that I'm not asked, but if you ask me, I will share, you know. And so, and I believe that, you know, there's so much value in you sharing, you know, your experiences, your journey, the knowledge that you have with other people, and they will be open to sharing those things to you. There's so much that comes with human interaction. Like it's not just about posting something somewhere and leaving it as is. It's important for you to build those connections with your community. And so yes, definitely, I definitely speak to people.
Have you had any like internet trolls, people that are negative in some of the things that you share, and how do you handle that, like personally as well as on your platform?
Personally, I might cry. On my platform, I always respond with kindness, because I realize that, you know, 99% of the time, if someone goes out of their way to say something hurtful to you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. It's something that they're dealing with inside of themselves. So it's important for us to realize that, yes, this person said this thing, but that doesn't mean that I am this, whatever they called me, you know? Like it's something that they're dealing with that's made them say this thing to me. And so I try to treat them with kindness.
So piggybacking on that, along with being social media savvy, there comes a responsibility.
Oh, for sure.
So in what ways do you safeguard the image that you put out about yourself, or the content that you put out about yourself?
Well, first of all, you know, there's a lot, like when you're in a position that I'm in, people want to see, you know, what you do for your day to day. But we are humans, and we have to also keep in mind that not everybody in this world is kind and nice. So I don't post live. Like if I'm somewhere, like if I'm at an ice cream shop and I'm tagging the ice cream shop, I will never post while I'm at the ice cream shop, because I don't know who's watching. I don't know if someone will come and find me, if they have any ill intentions of me, so I'm careful to do it afterwards, after I leave. In regards to the type of things I share, not everything belongs on social media. You have to be very mindful of that, and you never know who's watching, period, you know? Like, if this is not something that you don't want your parents to see, or, you know, your teacher to see, then you probably shouldn't be sharing with the world, because they might be on there, they might be watching, so, yeah.
How do you decipher what should go on social media and what do you want to keep personal? Do you kind of have a guideline, like I would never share things about my family, or is it okay to share family but only in certain guidelines? How do you decipher between the two?
Well, for me, I think it's more so like a personal compass. Like, I'm gonna share something on my personal life, in my bedroom, you know, with my family or just my husband around. I love to twerk, but I'm not twerking online. You know, like, this is not something that's gonna happen online, because I know, you know, that's just not the time or space for it, so.
I have a question. Do you pay, I could have missed that, but do you use any sort of organization that would allow for some of your like personal, like Taina, if I do a Google search of you, know, certain pictures pop up or certain articles, is there anything that you use maybe to block that or to provide that to be confidential for life, or you just,
No,
okay.
yeah, it kind of just, if I'm part of like an article or something, it'll populate, you know, online. Is there something that you can do to block that?
There are organizations I work with. When you mentioned mental health and such, I'm a mental health practitioner, and there's a lot of folks that'll pay organizations so that, you know, if I have an Instagram that's public, that's fine, but the private ones or things from Twitter of yesteryear, you can't find everything.
That's dope.
So just wondering if, you know, 'cause
No, I'm learning from you today.
I've learned you in the past. It was amazing. So I'm like, okay, this one.
Anything else, ladies? You guys have any questions? No? Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Did you go to college?
Yes. I went to last year university. I studied English, writing, which kind of came up with my blog, and then I got my master's in psychology at National. What are you interested in going to school for? Ooh.
So in what ways has your schooling influenced your profession?
Well, I would say definitely with the psychology portion, it made me realize how important it is for social media not to be my entire world. Yes, I work in this industry. Even with my 9 to 5, I'm a social media manager. Like, I could dive into this and say that it's everything, but it's not. It's important for me to check in with real life. It's important for me to take much needed breaks when I need to, and so I give myself permission to. Also to know that these are filters, you know, and not just like your Snapchat filters, but like anything I post online is filtered. I can take 20 selfies, I'm only gonna post one, the best one, that's a filter. You know, like everything that everyone shares online was passed through a filter, and that's not the entirety of their lives. So I think it's helped me to keep that in perspective, and to know that, you know, at the end of the day, people are people and no one is perfect. And that, yeah, like, this is just somewhere that we share like the things that we love and that we're interested in, but it's not the entirety of who we are.
How often do you find it necessary to unplug?
Recently, more often. Recently, I think this year, I took one long break. I took one that was like 6-7 weeks from social media. I try to take at least one day a week where I don't touch my phone, you know, for social media at all. Just because it's important for you to check in with your offline life. And so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that young Taina could have known that you could tell her that you feel like would have influence the trajectory of your life and career, what would it be?
Anything you want is available to you as long as you ask. I think, because I have struggled with being self-confident in the past, and I never thought I was good enough to, ask for certain things, but, I think, especially this year, I have been more bold in the moves that I make, and, I had realized that the worst that someone could ever say to me is no, and so I would just put myself out there and ask, and 9 times out of 10, it's available. Yeah.
Give a concrete example.
Huh?
Give them a concrete example.
Well, I guess as recently with the brand, there was this quote that I really liked, and I saw they posted it on their feed, and they had reached out to me before, and I'm the type of person that's like, okay, when they want to give me something, they will. But I was like, you know what? Let me just email and ask, and so I did. This was a couple of days ago, so I did, and they sent it to me.
So tell them a little bit more about how that works.
Okay, so in regards to with brands, because I post things on social media, like I would tag like my clothes. Like today I'm wearing Line Piquet. I would tag them, and sometimes it would get recognition from the people that sell the clothes, and they would send me an email, and they would either send me more clothes and ask me to post about it, or we'll do like a campaign where they'll like pay me to do, to come to their event or to post about their stuff. And yeah, so I would find a connection, like a PR person, whoever reached out to me initially, and we would continue a relationship.
Where do you get your fulfillment?
I would say when I'm creating, for sure, and with my family. And I think, the reason why this journey online has been, part of me for so long is because it is something that I have to put together and share with the world, and it's just a part of creating. But I find the same fulfillment when I'm drawing, when I'm writing as well. Like, I just like to create. Okay.
And did you decide, or how did you decide that this is what you want to do?
I'm not so sure that I did that. I think that I had started my blog with my sister as a kind of like a side project, something that we did for fun. And then when, at that time I was, still in college, doing writing, but I wasn't exactly sure where I was gonna end up. But at the time I was like, it's okay, as long as I'm doing things that I love, it's fine. I think when I probably became sure that, this was a journey that I should continue on couple years ago, just because, I had realized that it was something that was always on my mind and I was passionate about it. And so if you're passionate about something, you should always, chase it, I feel like, for sure. And I realized I was pretty good at it, and so that's how I even became a social media manager to begin with. Like, it was just something that came naturally to me. So, yeah.
How did, when you started and stuff, and you told your family how did you react to it?
Everyone's happy, supportive, which is a blessing, because I know that's not always the case. For sure. What about you? When you told your family you wanted to do cosmetology?
I don't know. My mom just was just like, cool.
Yeah. Do you play with makeup at home? Yeah? You should definitely be taking photos of that and building a portfolio. Because that's all stuff that you'll need, you never know who will ask. So you should definitely take photos of that. Yeah. Anything else?
So what makes you savvy?
What makes me savvy? The fact that I am a child of God. The fact that, you know, I have realized that I am uniquely me and that I am comfortable with sharing that with the world.
Is it hard to like balance your relationship with God and the job?
That's a good question. No, I think, you know, at first, when I first started using social media, I was a little hesitant to share like my faith and my beliefs online. But over time, I had realized that this is part of what makes me me. And so at this point, no, it's not challenging at all. Yeah. That's it. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was nice meeting you all.